Wow. So here we are on the summit of Mount Ralston, about 9,300 feet. And you know, the Sierra Nevadas and this beautiful ridgeline here coming around, it reminds me of the first recorded Medal of Honor recipient from a Predator drone, John Chapman. John Chapman in Afghanistan in the Hindu Kush. You can watch the YouTube video. Very similar altitude, more like 10,000 feet. See, what had happened is they were coming in to put a fighting position to fight Taliban and Al-Qaeda related insurgencies high in the Hindu Kush, Afghanistan, to try and bring peace to the nation after the 9/11 attacks. And Neil Roberts, who's interestingly enough from Woodland, California, very near my place of residence, and there's actually a freeway out there, 505. I think it's a stretch of 505 actually, in Woodland, California. It's named after Neil Roberts. He wasn't strapped into the Chinook helicopter when SEAL Team 6 was trying to insert, and they took heavy fire from some embedded Chechen fighters. And he fell out of the helicopter and was almost immediately killed. And so John Chapman was a combat controller in the Air Force, which is part of Special Forces. And what his job was is to embed with SEAL teams, call in airstrikes, basically set up your air tower, your air traffic control tower from the ground. So he was the voice that would talk to the AC-130 gunships, helicopters, anything that needed to be done. And so SEAL Team 6 and its leader, his name was Slab, they had to go back and get Neil because they didn't know if Neil was dead or alive. And so they're flying back up in a Chinook to get Neil, and Chapman is the first out of the back of this AC-130, and the AC-130 is taking heavy Chechen fire, RPGs, AK-47s, and a PKM machine gun. Slab, you can watch the video. He falls and sort of rolls down the hill. It's in very steep terrain there, and probably 12 inches of fresh snow. And he's in full gear. They did leave their rifle plates at home. Not at home, but they left their rifle plates from where they took off because they wanted to stay light and be able to move fast. But they got up, and you could see how steep the terrain is because Slab kind of rolls down the hill, and Chapman engages the enemy. He engages these Chechen fighters on his own. He sprints up the hill at these altitudes that are just they're insufferable to people, to normal civilians like me. It's hauling a pack up here. It's incredibly challenging just at 9,300 feet. And it's very interesting that these Chechen fighters, Taliban fighters, or associated with Taliban and Al-Qaeda, you know, they are living in a very harsh environment, and they are very hard people. They are very hard people, well-founded in their own belief systems, and they don't give up easily the same way that we believe in freedom and equality in the United States. They have their own belief structure that I don't agree with. But that's not to say that they aren't hard people, because this environment where they're living basically on. It's interesting to read about the story. There's a book that's written about this by Dan Schilling, and it really outlines it really well. They live on mayonnaise, rice, and fruit juice. It's incredible. And they're up in the Hindu Kush for months at a time, in the snow and the cold, and they're surviving this. It's absolutely incredible. John Chapman goes up and engages the enemy, and clears out a bunker by himself. The SEAL commander comes up and joins him, earning him his first Medal of Honor for basically protecting his team from this relentless AK fire. At this time, the PKM machine gun opens up on him from the other bunker, and then John Chapman is shot twice in the thorax, and goes down and is sort of rendered unconscious. At this point, the SEAL team leader thinks that he's been KIA. Roberts, you can see on the Predator drone, it's really interesting. Roberts is right there, but there's so much chaos and gunfire. I'm sure that in the dark, without in the dark, trying to fuss with their night vision goggles in the chaos and fog of war, very challenging to be able to see what's actually happening. The machine gunner hops up on the boulder and he takes rounds in his legs, and they do a tactical retreat, leaving Neil Roberts, who's deceased, and Chapman in Bunker 1, who's still alive, but unconscious or conscious, we'll never know. He does come to consciousness, makes a few radio calls, and at this time, the SEAL team calls up to a circling AC-130 gunship, and the gunship sends shells down onto these bunkers. And so Chapman's experiencing these concussions, these howitzer concussions, and he's still alive. Further, he engages the second bunker. He engages another Chechen fighter who sneaks up on him and eliminates him in hand-to-hand combat. And then when the Quick Reaction Force comes in with another CH-47, we also see him engaging multiple targets, trying to protect the CH-47, and ultimately he's mortally wounded while engaging these multiple targets, and thus qualifying for us, as the video says, thus qualifying for a second Medal of Honor. It's pretty incredible to watch this, and that helicopter is ultimately downed by an RPG. The battle is also known as the Battle for Roberts Ridge, and it's hard to get an appreciation of how challenging that environment can be unless you've been to altitude. And I've been to 14,000 plus feet on Mount Shasta, summited that, and it's hard to breathe, it's hard to run, it's hard to think. You have well entrenched insurgent fighters that have been fortifying positions and living at altitude, acclimatizing to that environment, and ready to engage just as fervently as Americans are. It's unfortunate that we, as humans, fight, because it's a beautiful place, and what wonder it would be to live in an egalitarian, libertarian society where we're all free. The beautiful snow from our recent storm system. It would be beautiful to live in an egalitarian, libertarian society.